Holy shit.
Yeah, this is the UI. I made it look like this.
Wait, that's the base UI?
And so dragon riding, also insanely fun.
Okay.
I even did the whole little time trials and all that. Found myself just trying to get to like the highest parts of like the southeastern Azure span, and then just kind of trying to get from one location to another, like it was a challenge on my own.
Cool.
Now with dragon riding, if I remember from the original interviews that were done, I believe you guys are kind of like moving a little bit of that renown system over to Dragonflight with the dragon riding. Is that correct?
It's not renown specifically. I think renown is more of an end game zone progression. So for sort of,
So I was wrong about that, by the way. Just letting you know that like dragon riding is not linked to renown. Renown is linked to every zone. Every zone has its own renown.
our major factions in the 4 zones at endgame. In lieu of like friendly, honored, revered, there's more of a granular renown track for each of those.
Max is gonna freak out soon.
That offers the usual range of cool cosmetics, convenience upgrades in the zone, not mandatory power for raiders. Sort of similar to Zereth Mortis in that sense. But dragon riding itself will have sort of traits that you can unlock in a little almost mini talent tree that becomes accessible in later builds at max level.
That's cool.
You just, through collecting dragon runes that are scattered around the Dragon Isles and other explorations, you can level up your mastery of your Drake and your ability to
like
do more
seeds
for longer and regenerate faster and so forth. But there is also that like mastery component to it, as you discovered, which I think is one of the really cool features of the system, that as you really get the hang
I can't
of
link this directly, it's not live
the
yet.
aerial navigation, you can stay aloft for longer, you can reach places that you couldn't before, and then the built-in like system progression will just complement that.
Awesome. Okay, because I was wondering, I wonder if there's more to the whole vigor. Are we gonna get more abilities?
That's good.
We're gonna be able to like customize like how fast we go and all that. I did professions. Professions is pretty in depth. It's a lot to take in. I remember reading the entire post in my community. And we were all just like, listen to what he has to say here.
Okay,
What's going on? I don't know what's
go.
happening. And now as I'm doing it on the server, it kind of makes all sense. I did notice that the reagents that we have to collect, I believe, are going to be soul-bound reagents. But once a crafter creates that item, it is BOE, correct? So someone who can masterfully create, like, let's say a mythic raid item, can they put that on the auction house to sell? Because I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, not necessarily. So I think
that's good.
The very best stuff is generally going to be BOP.
Can move camera?
But
no,
the key piece is that like now you can have a crafter make a BOP item for you through work orders and cooperative crafting, which is something that wasn't possible in the past. And so I think that's for us like a key advance.
Yeah, that's actually good.
Gets
that's
us
good.
out of a little bit of trap that we've been in, or a bind that we've been in with professions in the past. Where either, like you said, if they can make great stuff, well then it just and it's BOE, and then it just goes on the auction house and like, okay, now you can just use gold to buy your way to the strongest gear.
Yeah.
That's never what WoW has been about, and it also risks undermining other types of gameplay.
Are you
so
sure?
we don't do that. Or if the gear is BOP, like back in Burning Crusade, okay, cool, like you potentially have to be a certain profession to make the best BOP stuff for yourself. That limits your options when it comes to picking professions, and it makes professions not about interacting with the community, but about just obtaining a selfish benefit. Here, you could just be a player who gets...
Yeah, my YouTube videos are coming out throughout the day, so this video isn't out yet. This video's not out till like 11 o'clock or 12. I'm just linking my own link because it's a private link. So until it's out publicly on YouTube, then everybody else can watch it. You're just getting my interview right now. Once again, this interview happened yesterday with me and Ian in the afternoon. This is a video that will be out later. I'm just showing it to you as the first thing today because there's some exciting stuff.
Okay, cool.
The base item or the frame that can be crafted into a mythic raid quality helmet.
Secret. Yeah,
but you need to take that to a really skilled blacksmith.
One every hour
to complete the process for you and make it for you, and you will end up with a BOP item.
Okay.
But you earned the BOP component to it through your gameplay.
Right. Okay. Because one of those concerns is like, oh, people can just start buying tokens and getting the gold and getting all those 5 pieces of mythic grade quality on the auction house, and they're just gonna get decked down.
Hell yeah!
At the end of the tier,
Pay to win,
I did notice some of the gear
was
had some equips to it. I actually printed one out here. I'm pretty old school. I print stuff out.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
On paper?
Yeah. Yes, this is paper, Ian. It exists still. Can you believe it? Staples still.
There we go.
He gave me shit because I printed my shit out. I had my questions all printed out on paper, even with screenshots and everything. Yeah, on paper. Allied Risk Guard of Companionship. It says here like gain 56 verse per allied group, stacking up to 15 times. I'm not sure if those are just placeholders or is that actually gear that we can craft. And because I'm getting some of those like Najatar vibes with like the extra power in the gear.
Yeah.
Kind of be using raids.
The Benthic gear was cool.
I mean,
I didn't dislike it.
Right, so I think numbers there, obviously all like subject to tuning, certainly at this stage. Some of the intent there is exploring, we call them cantrips, just unique effects on items that may synergize or give you different gameplay.
I love those. Those are amazing.
Crafting gear, by the way.
Unlike Najatar items, I don't think there's the sort of fishing for random outcomes piece of it. I think the goal there, like certainly if those are BOE items, I'm not familiar with the exact item you're referencing, but I think the intent would be, if it turns out that what's meant as like an entry-level epic, because of a unique bonus it has, ends up being like best in slot or like Dark Moon card level.
Yeah, that's never happened, right?
We're going to look at the tuning there, right? The intent isn't that because of that effect, suddenly this overshadows gear that's, a tier or two better or becomes something that you have to buy.
Dark Moon card and Wrath,
early on, like I think we do expect like a place where BOE crafted gear is relevant and I think is pretty healthy, is that like the first few weeks of a new expansion, where you are just trying to get your pre-raid bis set up and getting whatever you can get your hands on. But I think we want to make sure that once we get past that and the season fully begins, the best gear is coming from raids, dungeons, PvP.
Oh yeah, I have like
or
8 hours of
using
Evoker
components
gameplay
that were earned by doing those things.
Recorded. Awesome. So this one is like probably the biggest question in our community that we always talk about on a daily basis is how will the world content work in Dragonflight? Because we have
that's
the
a very good question.
Mythic and the PvP, which is the foundation, and the exploration, of course.
Imagine world content.
Going back to world quests, world events. Since there's no more power grinds like there was in the past with AP and the Korthia grinds.
Okay, here we go.
What are we looking for? Looking forward to in Dragonflight in terms of like world content to keep us occupied in between all that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of that, some of this gets back to the renowned stuff we talked about just a bit ago. And it's building upon lessons learned over the course of Shadowlands. I think where we settled for Zereth Mortis by the end of Shadowlands, where I think we realized, like, we can have a really robust, deep endgame content loop and progression that's there for people who really enjoy outdoor content, who want to spend time doing it, who can unlock perks and convenience and cosmetics and get items that are parallel progression to what you might get from other sources, but not necessarily an AP style or whatever additive system that becomes mandatory for everyone, regardless of play style.
Good.
So I think that gets back to one of the philosophical learnings of Shadowlands, which is where possible, we want to avoid telling players that in order to play the part of the game that you enjoy most, you have to spend a bunch of time every day or every week doing this other thing that you don't enjoy as much.
Wow.
Renown is account wide.
And we've seen that general approach be successful over the course of Eternity's End. And so in a sense, the way we're approaching Dragonflight Endgame,
that's exactly what I wanted.
4 different Zereth Mortises, with of course very different grounded flavors.
Holy
some of them more
shit.
like Dragon Scale Expedition and their pursuit of the artifact.
He said that it's going to be 4 or 5 different Zereth Mortises in like style.
So they copy paste the same zone 5 times.
Ancient knowledge.
Jeez,
Dragon
Blizzard
Isles,
is lazy.
Or
God,
your buddies, the Tuskar or the Centaur clans, and so forth, with different content associated with each. Some a mix of world class dynamic events, rares. Some unique content like dragon riding races and fun stuff that we're excited to explore there, that all contribute to separate renowned style progression tracks that have lots of depth to them, cosmetics to earn, perks that make your outdoor gameplay more efficient, but nothing that like a raider should feel they need to be doing week 6, week 7, week 12 of the tier in order to keep up with their expected DPS or whatever.
Gotcha.
There
and
it is.
Are we maybe going to see some Orghast style tower or mage tower?
Oh, that's a good question.
Nothing specific along those lines at launch. For sure, as we look ahead to patches, I think that type of content, everything from mage tower to the deaths of Chromie, going back even further, which has some loose narrative threads that we might want to revisit now that we're doing dragon things again with the Dragonflight. Those are all like strong candidates for what we might want to do in patches.
All right, I want to touch a little bit on the talents.
He's a friend of the stream.
I'm loving the talent revamp. It's really in depth. Are you guys ready for just like the massive amount of builds that all the testers at Theory Crafters are going to come up with? I mean, it seems like it's going to be pretty endless almost.
I can't wait for them to figure out my best build.
Each boss,
and then just copy it exactly and say it's mine.
Or whatnot.
I mean, more than ready. I think that we're excited for it. I think we're eager to see it, and we've been trying to get some information out.
I want to see the
preview
warrior
blogs
talents
over the last couple of months, but like now you're just going to be able to play them and mess around with them in alpha, doing different types of content as the rest of our classes and specs come online. I think once raid testing begins, that'll be interesting. We want to set up a separate PvP server
I might try that
a bit further on in alpha so that people can, play around with at max level and test out builds there.
Yeah.
We want to leave tons of time, and really the primary focus of the combat team this time around is just responding to feedback and iterating on these trees. Once the 38th spec tree is done, their focus from then until we ship is just responding to feedback, learning from what works and doesn't work, what's frustrating, what's confusing, what choices people just find annoying, and streamlining the talent trees until we ship.
We were looking at the assassination rogue and outlaw rogue tree.
We'll
we saw all that really crazy but amazing raid utility in there. Is there going to be more specs bringing that kind of utility with the ones that we haven't seen yet? Like, what's going to be like the philosophy behind that heading into like raiding and Mythic Plus with kind of utility in general? It's
a space we want to explore, but we also want to be careful about going too far. So I think what we're seeing maybe is in this first pass of talents, there's going to be a bunch of experiments and trying to add some cool hooks to different classes and different specs. But once it's all there, we also need to take a step back and also hear from the community where it feels like it might just be too much collectively, and pull back in some spaces and see which ones are more compelling, which ones are feel actually less interesting and maybe more like fiddly min-maxing that isn't quite as.
By the way, spoilers coming pretty soon.
From an RPG perspective,
thank God.
So much of our game is cooperative in its nature.
Spoilers
whether
all
you're
day
in
today.
a dungeon group, whether you're in an arena team, whether you're going into a raid, and being able to make choices that don't just augment your own capabilities, but boost your buddies around you. Right. That's an interesting space to explore. At the same time, we also want to be mindful that we don't go too far. Like, I think I certainly remember pretty well, like actually what we're living through in Classic right now, but like by late Burning Crusade, the breaking point, I think, that led to the whole bring the player, not the class proclamation was this state of affairs where like everyone had some different buff and party buff interaction, and it just like being a raid leader was this giant game of Tetris of like, all right, well, the rogues need Battle Shout, but the warrior to give Battle Shout needs Wind Fury from a shaman, and like you just get to a point where it was like, sorry, I don't have room for you in the group. Like, no, we have room in the raid, but we don't have room in the party that you need to be in.
I thought Wrath
so
was
sorry,
ideal.
You don't have a spot here. Like, that would be too much.
Right.
We think we're pretty far from that. Yeah. But want to, kind of crack open that box a little bit and try to find a middle ground.
That's good. Yeah.
No one gets to buff each other, but also isn't overwhelming complexity.
Right. So the team is open to
I think that's actually good.
Talents based on feedback if need be or whatnot.
Oh, totally.
We just need to get there first.
Yep, exactly. And really, like this first, like getting them out there is the starting point of a conversation that we are very eager to have in the months to come. To get the talent trees to a place where it feels like there are interesting choices and choices that feel good to make.
Get ready.
Not choices. The choice might be interesting, but if you're taking it out of social pressure and it feels like you're sacrificing your own performance because the group is making you, that might not feel very good. And so we want to be very sensitive to all of that.
Right. How many loadouts are we going to be able to have within that talent tree, and can it be import and exportable?
Probably like 5. I don't think it really matters because you just have an add-on that does more.
I think loadout wise, I forget the exact number is a bit subject to change. I think we're looking like at least 6 to 8. Want to make sure that really like different specs, PvP, dungeon, solo, AoE, like. There are some technical constraints in our ability to store like infinite, but we want to make sure that people feel like they have enough. If it feels like we need more, we'll look to give you more. The idea of like importing and exporting and saving and sharing builds is a really cool one. It's something that I don't know if we'll be able to have it in at launch, but the team has definitely talked about that we would like to chase.
So as I was in the alpha there, I believe I didn't do it. I've been questing and just playing around for a couple of days, and I said, oh, let me hit Shift J. There's no way that the raid's are already up or the dungeons are already there. So I saw Vault of the Incarnates, huh?
Yep.
That's very exciting. 8 boss raid, which is awesome, better than 11. Notice right now there was already tokens. Once again, the name of the raid is Vault of the Incarnates. 8 boss raid.
Who the fuck is Incarnate?
Which are higher item levels than the rest of the gear. All subject to change, I'm sure. So is there going to be any kind of changes in that raid to the whole looting system?
This is the important
is there any kind of like maybe might be totally talk about it, but any kind of fight design philosophy going into Dragonflight as opposed to the previous expansions?
It probably won't be as punishingly difficult as Sepulcher. So some lessons learned there. There probably won't be abilities where failing to execute it on heroic wipes your entire raid.
Wow.
We give up. The team was collectively in a bit of an arms race with Echo and Liquid, and all right, you know what? We give up. You guys win. We're not going to try to make encounters that are uniformly challenging at that level because it's not the best experience for the player base as a whole. Loot wise, we are pretty excited. We're currently exploring the return of group loot for raids.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So specifically for raid bosses, like I think we talked about personal group loot, over the years, and I think by and large, personal loot as it has stood works fine for the vast majority of the game. Like when you're killing a random mob in the outdoor world, totally fine. Even for dungeons, I haven't heard anyone saying, you know what, I miss running a dungeon and getting a hunter bow with no hunters in my 5-player group. Boy, that was good. Can't we have that back? Like, no, dungeon loot feels fine also.
Man.
I think it's more like raids because they're uniquely a large-scale cooperative endeavor that lend themselves to the ability to cooperate and distribute the loot in a more social method if you want to do so.
By
I
the
think
way.
we want to get back to a place where you're killing a literal dragon this time, actually killing a dragon, looking at the dragon's corpse, and there's 5 items on the corpse. And
there it is.
Roll on them, pass, trade them around without restriction.
Without
but
restriction.
Also that will mean that if you don't have any hunters in your raid, you might see a bow and have nothing no one to use it on.
That's the option.
That's, maybe you should bring a hunter.
That's the risk you run.
Without restriction. Right. No, absolutely.
That
and
actually is a very good point. Yeah, without restriction. Holy shit.
RWF, Race the World First power progression for, I guess, the rest of us, the simpletons that are just regular cutting edge raiders. Is there going to be any kind of power increase in that first season of the raid, so we don't kind of encounter what we did in Sofo, where we're all just kind of like at the same item level and we just didn't really gradually get stronger than those top guilds, and you guys just had to obliterate the raid?
Yes, I mean, so some of that obviously gets back to just the original tuning targets and how much in the way of nerfs is required. I think we'd like to explore. We don't have a specific plan locked in yet, but we'd like to explore. This is really a raid specific problem, and we'd like to explore, systems like, I think back in Uldir at the start of Battle for Azeroth, built into the Azerite armor that you got from Uldir was kind of a scaling buff that you could get that served as a soft nerf that wasn't like distorting the power scale everywhere else in the game.
Secondary one.
So I think we've wanted to actively move away from the sorts of so-called borrowed power progressions like artifact power or whatever else.
Good.
We want to just focus on you're leveling up, you're getting talent points, you're growing your character that way, and you're getting more gear. But we also understand there is a lot of value in a raid group week 8, week 12 of a tier, feeling like, even if I didn't get an item this week, I'm making some forward progress in my ability and my group's ability to overcome this thing.
Like ICC.
Like, we're still going to hand tune and we're going to nerf where appropriate, but I think we'd like to have some kind of built-in raid progression.
Like Uldir.
Because really, that same problem doesn't exist in dungeons or PvP or elsewhere. In fact, like, honestly, gear inflation, I think that can be problematic in PvP if it increases the gap. It makes it harder to get your foot in the door as a new player when everyone is fully decked out.
Awesome. What they posted on Warcraft Twitter is what we tested the last 2 days. That's exactly what we tested. The Azure Span, Drag Theory Evoker, Dragon Riding, UI updates, and then the talent revamps for the 6 classes. That's it.
So blacksmithing, we're gonna look at that. We gotta figure that out.
I can try logging in. I might be flagged already. I don't know. I can restart real quick. There's still a little bit left of the interview.
Yeah, I see that.
We're gonna get a commercial on the channel really quick, so I'm gonna pause right there. What do you guys think, though? Group loot,
bro, like that. Right? This is actually so big.
Once again, I have tons of video in case the alpha is not actually up. I got tons.
Whenever
of
he
video.
gets in, I'll check mine.
I got let's see.
Did you get an alpha? Yeah, I'll be able to get.
I got videos of me just playing the Drakthir.
Bro, that looks badass. What the fuck?
Just questing and stuff. I got like 8 hours of Drakthir gameplay.
Holy shit.
Or whatnot. Healing
oh my
and
god,
DPS.
look at that.
I actually made the healing. Yeah, this is the UI. I made it look like this.
Wait, that's the base UI?
It's a lot of buttons. I definitely need to. I didn't really like the charging part of it. I wasn't a fan of the whole charging situation.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, for anyone that's
trying to do
my stream, I have a commercial playing, so I need to wait 3 minutes to respect my other viewers who are not subs.
Oh man. Isn't it, dude? It's so weird for me to think.
Yeah,
like,
I got a lot.
Literally,
a lot of stuff.
10 years ago.
I even have I even have like dragon riding videos. Just showing kind of the dragon riding. This is all gonna be videos coming out soon too.
No, it's gonna turn down. Like, I was just thinking, like, watching this.
Yeah, I got a bunch of dragon riding content.
It's so crazy for me to think that 10 years ago, I was on Towelliee stream
just got flagged.
doing a GDKP, and I didn't even really know what Twitch was.
wave 1, it takes like an hour. To
And like,
everybody.
isn't that so cool?
Yeah, like I don't have a.
Literally 10 years ago, man. It's just it's so weird to think that, man. It's just so fucking like that's.
So you can see when I'm going down.
Wow.
I have like that forward momentum.
It's
going
that's
down,
cool, man. That's
and
so
I
cool.
I kind of try to keep it.
Towelliee's OG, yeah, he is. He has been. I like the zone.
The flying, oh, it's really good. It takes practice though. It does take a lot of practice to perfect
cool.
it.
And we all think about the zone.
You know, the whole dragon riding is all
They obviously
about
built this shit off
You
Northrend.
get momentum.
Obviously
when your
off
dragon
Northrend.
starts to like, I got DC'd there because it's like a fell rush thing. You gain momentum when your dragon turns like blue. It glows blue. That's how you know you're gaining vigor. Vigor is like the cast bar.
Okay.
Of it all. But yeah, like I said, I gotta after the interview, I'll restart a couple times. I'd rather just show you guys the content because once the other streamers are in, they're playing the same content we did. So I just get to create my character from scratch again. That's all I get to really do.
Okay, so he's not in either.
And then do it all over again.
If Towelliee's not in,
I know where to put my buttons. Is the commercial? Let me know when the commercials are over for you guys, and I'll continue the interview. There's some really good questions coming up too. So yeah, so the new raid, 8 bosses.
I'll talk later.
He just talked about group loot possibly making a comeback. Unrestricted group loot, which I guess means that you could just kind of have like your raid leader loot all the gear and then trade it to whoever he wants. Pretty much.
Man, that is so cool.
Yeah, and then there's
that's very cool.
The next couple questions are kind of funny.
That's very, very interesting. Wow. Now I want to say I'll still use. By the way, I'll still use
your best
personal
DPS
loot.
up first. Yeah, I mean it'll definitely be something
I'll
that
still
I think
use personal loot.
I
won't use group
be
loot.
happy with finally. You know, not having to worry about personal loot and trading. So yeah.
Yes. You guys don't know how to stack the deck.
Even the tokens,
I do.
Like the gear tokens are.
Trust me. Big count.
Like you know, the tier gear is token based, and it's the highest item level of all the gear in the raid.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
far.
So there's actually a reason to tier
what they show in
gear.
the alpha.
Okay, great.
Thank you for all the subs, guys. I appreciate it. All right, back to the interview. That's great to hear because that was just like for me. I was like, man, what are we gonna do once they're done with the raid? There's got to be something that we can do to get stronger.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being for sure in the future,
Personal
and 1
being targeted
being
for
probably
Thank
never.
you, Nixie.
Ever be a tank in
Thank
World
you.
of
Somebody
Warcraft.
knows.
I mean,
give me a 3 at least.
Nothing.
I think I got
I would never say never to anything. I know better than that at this point. Like in 2032, it'll be like, but you promised this would never happen.
We wouldn't do that. What do you mean?
Like a right. Like a 3 probably. I mean, at this point, really, evokers are. We've had plenty of melee hero classes in the past.
He said 3 out of 10.
Tanks.
3 out of 10.
This is designed as a caster, as a ranged class. A lot of the things that are core and universal across the entire class are cast time abilities that aren't super compatible with tanking. The fantasy of being a mobile dragon that moves around the battlefield, unleashes breath weapons, etc. Again, that lends itself to range DPS, healing, support, not standing still in front of a monster taking punishment. So no tank plans in the works here.
Okay, cool. I saw the obsidian
I don't really
stuff,
care,
and right in the beginning, I was
give a
like,
shit.
"Oh, I could definitely make this guy a tank," and I just went down.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
It's so sad, I can't. The plan that you guys have for the season 1 for Mythic Plus is to have 4 of the new dungeons,
4 and 4,
4 old school dungeons. There's a few of the dungeons already on there, not to play, but you can just see it in the journal. Are those 4 old school dungeons going to be chosen by the community, like the 2 from Draenor were, or are you guys choosing those on your own?
We're choosing these on our own.
That's smart.
Though certainly, look forward to hearing all the discussion and requests for what dungeons people want to see in the future. And
that's a good idea.
Happy to bring back fan favorites now that we have really the entire range of dungeons to choose among. So yeah, I think the current plan we do have our 4 already picked out for season 1. It's a couple of Legion dungeons, a Warlords dungeon, and a Mists dungeon. I think we're doing Temple of the Jade Serpent from Mists, Court of Stars from Legion. You can play some Guess Who.
So he only gave me 2 of the 4 dungeons. So Court of Stars and Jade Serpent Temple are 2 of the confirmed
I love
season
Court of
1
Stars.
dungeons we'll be doing in Dragonflight.
Court of Stars,
So
best dungeon in Legion, probably.
Yeah, I'm assuming the other Legion one is probably like, I don't know,
Vault of the Wardens?
Maw or something.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Bro, no.
Those are the fun outing. experiments.
Yeah.
A couple others.
Law of Souls.
Okay. Yeah, I was really scared you were actually going to choose Shadowpan Monastery.
No, I'm not gonna do
What
that
do you
one.
like about Shadowpan Monastery?
It's terrible.
Don't do that to me.
I'm serious.
I never liked the whole layout of it. I always found it to be very.
He was actually like, what the fuck at me,
slowed
bro?
down either by the storms or the bridge. And
I love Vault of
I
the Wardens.
hated that last.
I
part,
thought it
'cause
was
you just
so
skip
cool.
it anyway, right? Like everyone just goes to the right, skips through the ice, and
That depends on your enemy
Tuesdays?
forces target. But
Yeah,
like,
days.
I would
every
say
day.
it's not happening. It's not coming for season 1, but I would say Shadowpan Monastery. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it at some point over the course of Dragonflight.
why'd I say anything?
But I think particularly for the older dungeons, the ones that never had Mythic Plus, like the team is super open to
Shadow
making
Fang
changes
Keep.
to the flow of the dungeons, looking at pacing, looking at mechanics that made sense for like a heroic dungeon queue experience, but didn't make as much sense or wouldn't make sense if you're, in the Mythic Plus timed format. So we're not necessarily just saying this is how it was, so we're going to copy paste it
the
and change
timer
nothing. So all of that feedback is super
4
welcome.
hours. You have to kill every boss.
And are there going to be any new affixes
A
coming our
4-hour
way
gold
in
timer.
the first season of Dragonflight? And is Tyrannical and Fortified sticking around?
It's good.
Current plan is yes
Yep,
for
that's
Tyrannical
right.
and Fortified is just a bit of just week to week texture of focus more on the bosses this week, more on the trash other weeks. We are planning a new seasonal affix, so I think we are looking to simplify our seasonal affixes a bit. I think in a world where the dungeon pool was static for the entire expansion, a primary function of a seasonal affix was to really shake up your routing through the dungeon.
That's a good point.
But when we have all new dungeons this time that present fresh problems to solve, we don't need to do that. Routing is already a new thing for people to figure out. So I think it's more, we can focus
hope they don't
more
make
on
them too
something that's a bit
simple,
easier
though.
to understand and thematic to the raid boss or the other story of that season.
Now, as I was doing some dragon grinding, I found those bronze timekeepers, these little hourglass on your screen. And I noticed at the end of it, there's a score, but it's not really there yet or whatnot, subject to change as usual. Are we going to be able to race each other as players and maybe some famous NPCs? Are you guys going as far with that with the racing, or is it just as you go, your time is matched up against everybody else's?
It's a cool thing we want to continue to explore and expand upon. I think there's definitely little obstacle courses. The intent is a bronze, silver, gold, time cutoffs and achievements that you can earn.
That'll be fun.
At max level, there are a couple
That's actually that's
multiplayer
good stream
races
content.
that people can start together.
Holy shit.
And they launch every so often. And you
Chocobo
can race
races,
against each
yeah.
other. We definitely
Basically, one of the community managers sent us a text message saying that you only have 1 or 2 questions left, and it showed right in front of Ian. I didn't want to show their names, so the dragon is covering it up.
I see.
internally already, the second people start seeing this stuff, start asking hey, what could we do a queued version of this? Could we do something that has a bit more competitive structure to it?
Yeah.
No plans for that right at launch. I think we want to really dial in and make sure we understand how dragon riding is working, how it's feeling to people, what the level of mastery is there. And then once we understand that landscape, I think giving people a chance to compete and to show off their
That's
mastery
actually
of the
smart
system feels like a
to make
natural
the
next step.
system good
So
before
what
they
he's
make
talking about,
system,
what I'm talking
they
about
make
there is,
goals
you'll
for
see
it.
it in this video eventually.
That's actually that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, so eventually you see this guy, it looks like an hourglass on your map.
Oh
And
shit.
you talk to him and you could do dragon races, but right now
Holy
you just
fuck.
race based on time. So the faster time you complete the race, the higher score you get, and then that score is going to get placed up against other people on the server. So there's going to be a leaderboard with who has the fastest time on the course for this zone.
Oh my god.
So right now he's going ready, set, go, and then you just go through the entirety of the you start dragon racing.
What the
So I already
fuck?
start out bad, so yep.
Bro, that's actually fast.
And this happens for a while. This is almost the entire map.
Oh my
So what
god.
I was asking him in the interview is it'd be really cool if we can race other people like
Yeah.
this. Maybe FaZe. You know how not Dragon Soul, Dark Souls. In Dark Souls you can see other players, but they're kind of
They're
fainted
spirits.
ghosts walking around
Yeah.
you. Imagine seeing another dragon racing right next to you,
Some racing
but
games have
kind of
that.
faded out, instanced on their own.
I like that. Oh, he didn't get the speed boost. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
so this is basically I think every zone has one of these races, so you're going to be able to try and be the fastest of each zone.
Oh my god. This is a whole new
I'm
type
not sure if
of
you get any
gameplay.
rewards for it. I should have asked him about rewards for winning or having the top
I
score.
feel like it doesn't need to
But
really
this is
have
the
rewards.
regular one. There's an advanced one, and the advanced one is
Maybe like a
just the
toy or
rings
something,
take really
That's it.
hard turns. you lose it. I don't like the fact that the arrow shows you where to go. That's a little too on the casual side. But that's it. And then at the end, it says
probably kind
race
of true.
complete, time, seconds, but there was no score yet because it's like I said, it's very bare bones alpha right now, as you can see.
Okay.
Yeah, the alpha is very, very bare bones. It's not really. I mean, we only have a little bit to do.
Okay, that's a cool minigame. Yeah, yeah.
Compared to like
it's
what people were thinking we were gonna get. So I'm pretty sure there's some disappointed people. I think everyone's waiting for their flags. I think I've restarted my Battle.net a million times. I'm telling you, I think I don't have alpha because there's too much in development shit. Now with the leveling process in Dragonflight, what would you say would be the average time? I hope it doesn't happen again. 60 to 70 in Dragonflight, because I always thought it was kind of short in Shadowlands, and I kind of like more of like the Draenor style storytelling and the how do we say, the flow of that expansion. How many hours do you think we're going to be leveling in Dragonflight to get right to the end game?
Very replayable for some people.
It's hard for me to. I can't just like pick an exact number because really there's a huge variance depending on like, are you power leveling? Do you have a guide that you're following, or are you just kind of exploring? You know, doing stuff as you come across it. I'd say probably a little bit longer than Shadowlands, but not too much longer. I think what we want to do is offer more freedom as you level. I think Shadowlands leveling saw each zone being a fairly linear sequence of narrative chapters that would unfold. We still have certainly your first time through the story on your first character in Dragonflight. We want you to play through the main campaign over the course of the 4 zones, so you kind of understand the stakes. You're being introduced to the different factions. But we're thinking of it more as like some bookends or key pillars narratively in each zone, and a lot more freeform room to explore and decide whether you want to help this group or that group. And
you can do what you want to do.
Get an early start on what will become endgame progression and endgame systems, so that the time, if you choose to spend it there, not just beelining through the narrative, isn't wasted. It's giving you a little bit of a leg up.
It'll take a little bit longer than Shadowlands to hit max level. Anyway.
That's smart. Okay, I'm fine with that.
The general vibe here to be one that is inviting and open to exploration. Good. And so to some extent, the open layout of the zones, I think if you're bouncing around Azure Spam, like, it's a big zone. I think it's probably literally the biggest expansion zone that WoW has had ever. That's by design. We want you to feel like there are many open paths for you to choose among.
Is that really true? All right, we're going to see that.
Thread pulling
yeah,
forward.
I know they said the alpha starts. I know.
We only have one left here.
Sure.
With dragon riding, are you going to go as far as allowing us to discover some like really cool parts of the world that like maybe leveling players might not be able to discover yet? Some like end game stuff, like finding world bosses or rare monsters or caves.
That would be really cool if they had
potentially that. Yeah. I mean, I think with
this is good.
Flying or things like it, traversal
Dragon Board
give you access
I'm gonna be a
to new areas.
Yeah,
and if we can assume that you can't access those areas right away, we can put some special or more exclusive things there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be leveling characters versus max though, because our intent with the dragon riding upgrade system is that is account wide. Like we feel like, right, it's once you've upgraded your bigger max and stuff like that, you're not going to want to repeat that process in subsequent characters. It'll just make playing other characters feel worse.
Yeah.
But certainly, like, getting better at dragon riding, letting you reach new places is
just make everything account wide. Like, it's that simple. Yeah.
William, thank you very much for hanging out, man. And that was it. That was the interview. I mean,
it's literally not hard.
The interview will be up on YouTube, I think, at 3 today.
I'll go back. I'll watch the rest of it whenever I can.
At 11. At 11, there's another video coming up, which I think is already pretty much.
There's also going to be an interview with Ian later on with Mr. GM.
Yeah, I got like all kinds of videos. So we can actually watch them all now if you all want while we wait for flagging to happen. I think the servers aren't going to be up for a while anyway. I think they're waiting until everyone gets flagged, then the servers come up, then everyone plays. What do you guys want to watch next? You want to watch some Evoker gameplay?
Yeah, I'll watch Belier's video.
Writing?
I just want to see if it's up for him.
You want to see the raid tab? I want to see the raid and the bosses in the raid?
Okay, it's still not up.
I got that too.
All right, I'll pause this for now. By the way, huge fucking hearts in the chat. Shout out to Towelliee. Like, Towelliee is an OG WoW content creator. Like, I mean, this guy is he was, as I said, like, he was around before I even, like, fucking, like, I even remember. Like, Towellee's, like, always been around, man.